please.
Yeah, wow.
All right, Chief. You got it right there. Yes, it is. Come on in here, Rose.
Y'all ready? Y'all good? Good afternoon. It's difficult to say it's a good afternoon under these fire conditions. We do have some news that we've got a great team in the state of Washington and the local working together to preserve people's health and to take care of those who have suffered. I came over this morning in order to demonstrate that the entire state of Washington will be standing with the people of Spokane County and those across the state of Washington who are suffering through yet another horrendous fire season. Yesterday, I declared a statewide state of emergency due to the many fires we have burning in the state of Washington. We have about 35,000 acres that are burning or have in the last few days in the state of Washington. We've had almost 20,000 acres here in Spokane County with two major fires, the Gray and the Oregon fire, and unfortunately they continue to burn. So I want to give you some brief, and we have the local experts to answer your questions and make some comments as well. Several comments. Number one, this to me has been an exceptional response to a horrendous fire, and I'll tell you why. I was just at Lakeland Village, where we have dozens of people that we care for, some of the most fragile people in the state of Washington. And I saw this place almost surrounded by fire, but we were able to save it through the diligence of the personnel and taking care of the patients there and the residents there who were evacuated. Over 100 people were moved at one time or another. And I'll tell you a story when I finish my comments about that. Those kind of stories have been repeated throughout Spokane County. The evacuation notices that went out on the reverse 911, I talked to several people here who got those just in the nick of time and were able to save their lives, which is the most important thing, obviously. The work of the local fire department, the sheriff, the police force, the state patrol has all been exemplary to minimize the fatalities. Unfortunately, we've experienced one, and we want to experience zero going forward. So I want to compliment all the people who've worked together in such a coordinated fashion to minimize the losses. And this has been horrendous fires. The aridity, the wind, this fire moved 7 miles in one afternoon. This thing can chase you as fast as you can run almost. So I want to show my appreciation for what people have done. Second, I want to say that the state will stand with all of our agencies from Emergency Services Department, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Health, State Patrol. We have mobilized every asset we can in the state to help the community, and we will continue in that regard. There will be many questions as we go forward to help the people who've lost their homes. As I've said, we have maybe 200 homes that have been lost. We will be assessing that damage as quickly as humanly possible to bring to bear every assistance we can for people that have lost their homes. We want to thank the individuals of Spokane County who stepped forward, the donations that are coming in, the volunteers that are coming forward. It's been very inspiring to see the Spokane community pull together to do everything they can for people. Now, I do want to say this. We have to fight these fires as hard in as many ways that we can. And I'm glad that we have bolstered our firefighting apparatus and operations in the last year. We've increased our appropriations over about $125 million in the last couple of years, so we can have more firefighting assets, more air assets, more trucks, more personnel. I'm glad we've done that. But we have to recognize we need to continue that effort, because the fact of the matter is there's a beast at our door, and that's the beast of climate change. It seems like the whole world is on fire today. Yellowknife, Canada, with over 1,000 fires burning in Canada. Maui with Lahaina burnt to the ground, and now Spokane County, and 35,000 acres in fire today in Washington State. We have to bolster our assets, but we have to do something else. When something's attacking you, we need to defend ourselves from it. We need to defend ourselves from climate change. We need to decarbonize our economy so these fires don't ravage us. There's not enough fire trucks in the world to protect us if we don't stop climate change. And I'm proud of our state. I just got back from Korea yesterday talking to the Korean community about how they're fighting climate change. And I was able to be proud of our state that we are fighting climate change by reducing carbon pollution in our state. So there's a lot to be proud of here in our state. People pulling together, everybody's coming together. We're fighting the basic source, and we will continue to do so. We got several people who answer your questions, and I'm going to call Cody Rohrback of Fire District 3 first. Cody, thanks for your team's great work. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Governor. So going to provide a quick overview of the Gray Road Fire, which is located just southwest of the city of Spokane, around the Medical Lakes, Four Lakes, Tyler community to the southwest. Gray Road Fire currently showing at approximately 10,200 acres. As the fire continues to progress and we get better mapping, we do anticipate that acreage to change, but actively working on getting an accurate acreage assessment for that fire. Fire continues to be burning actively. Some good news to report on Gray Road Fire with the current weather conditions, the winds out of the northwest. It helped us to secure the northern perimeter of that fire, which is essentially the communities of Four Lakes going west towards the community of Medical Lake, as well as some of the lake communities that exist within that general area. Conditions yesterday allowed firefighters to make a lot of progress getting those lines secure in that area, mopping up around some of the homes in that area, just trying to reduce the threat to the community, to the homes in those areas. Our priorities continue to be life safety, property conservation, ensuring that our community is out, that they're in a safe place, and minimizing the damage from this fire. With the winds yesterday, it presented new challenges on the southwest portion of the fires. It pushed the fire across the interstate multiple times yesterday. Given the winds, given the low humidities, and the fuel conditions being so dry, fire was very active again yesterday with long-range spotting and embers that go over control lines and well ahead of our fire resources. The smoke conditions, as everybody can see who's in the area, remain challenging as well. That limits the use of our aircraft. Simply they are not able to safely fly or see their targets. So able to get up a few of our air assets yesterday, but they only got about half a fuel cycle before they had to shut down. So our efforts have been primarily on the ground. There's an outpouring of resources from within the county as well as the region, state, and nation. National resources coming in to assist as well, but certainly need to thank all of our partners within the county, region, and state. Again, the county fire resources surged again yesterday afternoon as fire activity increased, and firefighters who'd been working more than 30 plus hours returned to the line to try and contain that fire. The good news is those firefighters worked hard throughout the night. We were able to establish control lines on that southern area that is burning towards the community of Tyler. It's still several miles from the community of Tyler, but firefighters worked tirelessly through the night. They did establish control lines in that area. I would say that Gray Road Fire is reported at 10% containment. And again, when we report containment for the Gray Road Fire, that does not mean that there's just a fire line. Before we will call the fire contained, we need to go back in and mop up, take all the heat away from that line so that the winds can't blow a hot ember across the line and establish itself yesterday. And that's what we dealt with, hundreds of spot fires yesterday where it would get across control lines. But some good news there today. They've held those throughout the early hours of the morning, and that will be our continued priority throughout the day, is to get in, secure those lines. Wind's a little more favorable today as we're seeing the wind values decrease some today as well. But again, a lot of activity out on the fire line today. Firefighters making good progress, a lot of resources coming in. We're going to continue to conduct assessments within the fire perimeter to try and get an accurate count on the damages within the fire. We're still reporting from a very preliminary assessment, 185 structures lost. We do anticipate that number to climb as we get further into the fire and able to do more accurate assessments. But we do appreciate everyone's patience and understanding with the efforts to get that accurate information back out to the public. Again, resources spread very thin right now, focused on containing the fire, stopping forward progress, and then trying to work towards getting utilities restored, getting our community back in there as quickly as possible. We just want to ensure their safety as well as the suppression resources safety. Obviously, a lot of suppression resources, utility companies, law enforcement, all collaborating, working within that fire, and so a lot of narrow roads, a lot of challenging conditions, and so our ability to work within that area fluidly is helpful in us providing the best outcome to the community. So overall, we are cautiously optimistic as it relates to containing the fire at this point, but certainly not out of the woods given the incredibly dry fuels, the winds, and some challenging conditions predicted. But there is some potential moisture predicted in the upcoming forecast. We will continue to watch that and remain hopeful that we'll see some of that moisture, but sometimes with the changing weather patterns we can also see atmospheric instability, shifting winds, and all of those things can make these suppression efforts more challenging. We're
going to scan for questions when we're done, Cody.
Okay,
Let's do
thank
it.
you.
By the way, Cody's troops need help because he just told me the fires in Spokane County have been doubling every 10 years. And thanks to your troop. We really appreciate it. We have Sheriff Knowles. Come on up, Sheriff. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Oh yeah, well I'll be brief. So I think there's a couple important questions we keep hearing from the public that I'd like to address. First, there are questions about how long it has taken to bring some of these resources to bear, because we talk about how stretched our resources have been. We have requested resources from the state and beyond from almost the very beginning of this incident, but I think it's important for the public to understand to mobilize the amount of equipment and mobilize the number of people that it is taking to fight this fire takes time. It does take 24, 48, 72 hours to get resources into our community. If you are around any of the IC centers, you'll see that people and equipment are trickling in. And that's going to allow us to do some of the things that the governor talked about, some of the things that Chief Rohrbach talked about, where we can go in and make sure that the resources are there to fight the fires that are active, but then to come back into our neighborhoods that have maybe already been affected and make sure that it's safe for the community to come back in. So you'll start seeing movement that direction. I will just let the public know that we will let you know as soon as possible when it's going to be time to return to your home safely. Please be cognizant of the evacuation zones. Please help us keep those areas safe by staying out. We are using law enforcement resources from both the State Patrol, the Spokane Police Department, the Spokane County Sheriff's Department, all of our regional assets to keep those areas safe, because we know people have left their homes. There's a lot of anxiety about the condition of their homes and whether they're safe. We have law enforcement resources all the way up through some federal agencies patrolling those areas to make sure that your homes are safe. So please allow us to do our jobs, allow us to keep the firefighters safe and to keep people out of their way. And again, if you know of anybody who's missing that you want to have us know that you haven't seen or are concerned about, please call Crime Check at 456-2233 and report those folks as missing. And just know here in the near future, we're going to be taking an inventory of structures and homes that are lost and confirming that with the public. And thank you. And again, I would like to thank the governor for being here. It means a lot to the citizens of Spokane County that he's here to see firsthand what's going on. And we thank him for all the resources the state has brought to bear here. Thank you.
Thank your troops. Al French, Commissioner.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you to all of the resources that you've brought to Spokane County. Demonstrates the partnership that we have with the state and the mutual support. The governor issued his declaration yesterday, and the Board of County Commissioners did yesterday at noon and stuff. So that frees up resources to be able to bring to our frontline responders. You know, this community has made significant investments over the years, both in police and fire, and this is the reason why, is so they have the resources to be able to keep us safe. And so you look at Firestorm 91, you look at Dishman Fire, and you look at this one. The response on this one has been incredible compared to those other events. One of those things that has made it much more responsive is communication. This community invested in a communication network, and these folks have been able to use that network to keep each other informed and responsive and safe. So I want to just thank you to the governor, the state of Washington for their partnership, and to all of the other jurisdictions for coming together and working as partners to address this issue for the community. Thank you.
Commissioner Waldorf?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the governor for getting off the plane in Korea and coming straight here. So thank you. Spokane County really appreciates your support. I want to recognize City of Medical Lake. I want to recognize Megan from the American Red Cross. They have done an incredible job here at Spokane Falls Community College, supporting folks who are, you know, having some really tough times. I got a chance to talk with Rick and his daughter, some other folks here today who they're hoping to get back to their homes, but there's a lot of work to do to restore the utilities. And so please, everyone stay safe. Listen to our law enforcement and our first responders, and stay out of harm's way so we can get back to get folks back to their properties. And I just thank again the governor for all the resources. The coordination has been incredible, and there's a lot more work to do. So thank you for being here for Spokane County. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, people have pulled together. I spoke to Mayor Cooper, who helped Lakeland Village during their evacuation. Some of the resources, she got it to Lakeland Village. It's been really remarkable. The Red Cross is doing amazing things, so people are pulling together. I do want to honor a couple people. I have an honor. I can declare somebody Washingtonian of the day if I really am inspired by somebody, and I've been really inspired this morning. There was a gentleman, several dozen of the Lakeland people, many of whom were in wheelchairs, had been evacuated to another center away from their residence. And a fellow there recognized, even though they'd been evacuated already, that the fire was coming for them at the place they had been evacuated to. He made a snap judgment, a really good judgment, to do another secondary evacuation, and organized a rescue of dozens of people, some of whom they pushed across the fields in wheelchairs to get them to another location so they weren't consumed by the fire. That's the kind of care, compassion, and good judgment that we have shown. And I got to tell you, these are very, people who are very fragile, and we have not had a casualty of any of the people in our care at Eastern State Hospital or Lakeland, where the fires essentially surrounded the place but didn't burn it down. So today's Washingtonian of the day is Joe David Valise. Come on up here, Joe, and I get to pin the Washington governor's apple on you here. Now, Joe David is a man of a few words, and he's not going to complain too much about this, but he lost his home in the fire. But he's still on duty like people at Lakeland, and we've had several people lose their homes in these state facilities, and we really appreciate these people pitch in. A veteran of the Air Force now, unfortunately, got his RV out at the center, right, Joe? You're at?
Yes, sir.
So we hope you're going to be well. And I think he epitomizes what everybody's doing here. And tomorrow, the Washingtonian of the day is going to be Alan Novak. Alan was out scouting the fire at Lakeland Village, and because he choked on so much smoke, he had some cardiac event, so he's in the hospital right now, and we wish him well. So tomorrow, Alan Novak's going to be the Washingtonian of the day. There are many Washingtonians of the day. Let's keep pitching in. we're happy to stand for questions. Anybody here and you will take your easy questions. Any questions? You can direct them anywhere you'd like. From the mess, yes.
You're in a shelter right now, and you talk about the state of emergency. How do you hope to help people that are still here, that have lost their homes, and can't go back
Yeah.
home?
So we're gonna do everything we can. That's the number one. We're gonna do everything we can as fast as we can. We really appreciate the Red Cross. They're providing, for instance, pharmaceutical help for people. I just went to the nursing station. I've been told that the cots aren't that bad. People are appreciative about that. But now we go into the recovery phase, and the emergency department services and everybody's going to be assessing the damages so we can make requests for assistance for them. There are multiple places we look for assistance, one of which is obviously the federal government. That takes time to assess how many damages so we can get what's called individual assistance for people for uninsured losses. We also can ask for assistance for our public assets if we lose public assets in our electrical lines and sewer lines and the like. That takes time to assess. We'll do that as rapidly as possible. The state has some limited assistance for people for housing in the short term and cash assistance for people. So there's ways to get cash assistance from the state. I know that we're doing this as rapidly as humanly possible. But look, this is going to be hard on these people. I don't want to sugarcoat this. These families are going to have some hard days ahead. And the reason I say that is I think all of us, if there's any way we can lend a hand to our neighbors here, even emotional assistance is really important to people right now. Kids are going through trauma. Any way we can help people with just a pat on the back helps even. So we're going to stand with these families everywhere we can. Robert, do you want to add anything? Is there anything you want to add particularly? Robert Eisel, our Director of Emergency Services.
No, the governor covered it very cogently, but we will do everything that we can to make the case for federal assistance. We have to have certain thresholds that we've got to meet, but again, it has to be safe for our folks to go into the area to be able to assess the damages, build the case for the federal government, and we'll do that as expeditiously as we possibly can while being safe.
And while I'm at it, let me get on my soapbox a little bit. The whole federal system does not treat the western United States fairly because it treats flood damage with much more care and sensitivity than it does fire damage. And for instance, and we've had several fires in the state where we have not had federal assistance, and frankly, we should have. So we need the Congress to fix this system. We hope that we'll be able to get it here. We'd have no idea whether that may be possible or not. By the way, I want to thank the State Patrol Chief Batiste, General Dougherty here. I know they've been pitching in as much as possible. We got the whole team. DOT has been very helpful, I think, in the evacuations. I've been told they've gone pretty well. So thanks for the Department of Transportation as well.
School starts for a couple of weeks for some of these kids who may have lost their homes. I know families are scrambling to kind of come up with answers and solutions to kind of get through this really difficult period. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the specific state resources you guys are working to kind of get to these families?
Well, the governor came today to try to talk to some of these families and pep them up a little bit. And I do think that is important to some families in this regard. I know that the schools will be doing outreach to these families to accommodate the specific needs of their kids. Obviously you want to keep them in the same school, if there's transportation, so that if they go to some shelter for some period of time, you might have transportation needs to get to your school to keep them with the same teacher. That's a high priority. I know they'll be working on that. Fortunately, we've got some additional money coming for school districts. I hope they'll use it that way.
One more question.
Governor, so obviously we mentioned that the state resources are stretched incredibly thin. In the coming days, what is it going to look like in terms of tapping into federal resources, and how are we going to be navigating as these fires continue?
So the state and the locals will all pitch in to get in and assess the damage as rapidly as possible. As soon as you can walk on the ashes and it doesn't burn your feet, they'll be in there assessing the damage. They will then compile a portfolio of all the damages. We'll box it up. We'll get it to DC as fast as humanly possible. If it meets the threshold, then we can get federal assistance. If it doesn't, we won't. And we're going to do that as rapidly as we can. We can't do it today because we've still got, evacuation orders in those places. I will tell you that process and the response of the federal government has frequently been frustratingly slow, and we just get out our sticks and prod them every way we can.
Closing comments?
I want to thank everybody. Be safe. Look at the one thing today, the most important message today is be safe, right? Be safe. Your health is what counts here. Follow the evacuation orders. Frequently, we've had great compliance with the evacuation orders, and if we keep that up, we'll minimize further losses. Good luck to us all.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.